Hello. Thank you for viewing this sermon, Precious Moments, a moment to change a lifetime. I hope you enjoy.
You guys don't need a Bible tonight, but right now I'm just going to read out of Genesis 32, verse 22. It says, "That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives and his 2 maidservants and his 11 sons and crossed the ford. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man came and wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as the man wrestled with him. Then the man said at daybreak, 'Let me go.' Jacob replied, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me.' Then the man asked, 'What is your name?' Jacob said, 'Jacob.' Then the man said, 'Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome.'" As I was reading that passage, I thought that this would just be perfect for what we're about to do. At this moment, Jacob's name was turned to Israel because he had overcome with God. And he had a popped out socket, which means he would forever walk with a limp. So he would remember that time when he had wrestled with God. And it was just a powerful moment. It was something strong in his life. It was a precious moment in his life that he was going to always look back to and say, God changed my life at this moment. God did this, God did this for me. And tonight, me and Richard, we was sitting down and was thinking about, what to do for tonight since it's one of our last services. And we thought about speaking to you guys about, or showing you guys and acting out some of our precious moments. Just like it was with Israel. God came to us sometimes, and he spoke with us. And God helped change our lives. And so tonight, as we are doing these skits, or as we act these out, I want you guys to just dig deep. I want you guys to remember some of the times that, God spoke to you, or God came to you when you were praying, or God came to you when you felt like you was down and out. And it's just going to change your life.
How could I believe in this religion thing? How could I believe in this God and Christianity when it doesn't even make sense? Like the Bible, from the research I've done and what I've heard, it was written by multiple people. It doesn't even make sense. How could it be correct? Or what about the fact that, it was written so long ago? All my theories and research say that, Christianity in the Bible, it's nothing. It's not even real. Or what about not even that, but what about the fact that people go through such horrible things in life? What about the fact that I went through such horrible things in life? How about those felonies that I got? How is God just going to let me go through all these horrible things? Be poor, and how my family's gone through so much, and how I've gone through so much. There's no way this can be real. There's no way Christianity can be real. I just hate life. I feel so depressed right now. Like, how could it just be real? I can't fathom a God that would just allow me to be so hurt and broken and not even care to help.
At this time in Richard's life, this when he started hearing about Christianity. This was back when he was, just running around, just doing what he wanted to do, and just not living for God, but he was living for himself. At this time he was depressed, and he had a lot of questions in his head, and his heart was heavy, and he really didn't know what to do or what to think. It says that he looked at theories, and he looked at a lot, and I'm sure that you guys struggle with some of this sometimes too. You look at the Bible and say, how is this real? How can I believe in this? You let me go through so much. And I used to struggle with the same exact thing. But as I look back and you hear parts of his testimony, one of his precious moments in life that helped shape his future in the present, God was really working in his life. And I just want you guys to just sit there and just think about some of the times that you have with God and some of your thoughts. Am I supposed to believe in this stuff? I hear that your name is God the Father. I hear that so much and so often. But how am I supposed to believe in you? How am I supposed to trust in you when so many things happen? My father wasn't even there for me when I was younger. He comes around sometimes, but he wasn't there for me. So how am I supposed to think that you're gonna be there for me? I pray. I'm beginning to pray and nothing's happening. How am I supposed to put all my trust in you? How am I supposed to put all my belief in you? How am I supposed to think that you're going to come down? How do I think that you're my father and I'm one of your child when there's so many people on this earth? I just can't just comprehend, and I just don't know how I'm going to trust you.
At this point in Braylon's life, this was when he first came to church. This is when he first came to Fuel Youth Ministries. And he was sitting in the crowd, and he was hearing the sermon preached about God the Father. At this point in his life, he was struggling with that. How could he trust in a God, his Father, if his Father in real life, his Father on earth never was there for him? How could he believe in a God as the Father that was to be there and to work in his life and be there and care for him and provide for him when his real dad wasn't even in his life to provide? And so that just didn't line up in his mind. And so as he sat in the crowd, as he sat in the very seats, literally those same red seats that you guys are sitting in, he struggled with that. He struggled with that thought of God as a father. Not even just in the fact that, we know God is omnipotent or whatever, but how could he logically be everyone's father? He just didn't believe. He had all these different, just things coming against him, difficulties in believing in God. But at the same time, in this moment, in this precious moment for Braylon, this is where his journey with Christ began. This was a changing point in his life. It was white and black. He was no longer, going to be living for the things that he was going to live for. He didn't know that either. At this point in his life, he was going to hear the gospel, and the gospel was going to affect him, and it was going to speak powerfully into his life.
See the things that make your
help change Richard's life. This is the chance, that he came to this altar. He was like, God, I'm done. I'm done with everything else. I'm done. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of living with the world. I'm tired of being conformed with the world. This was the time that he was like, God, I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to believe in you. I'm going to give my all to you. And at this retreat, what our old pastor, he gave us these banners, these things to put around our eyes. And he said, I just want you guys to go crazy. I want you guys to go crazy, go and worship. I don't want you guys can look around and see anything, so I want you guys to just go to your spot and just tie that around your heads, and I just want you guys to just worship like you've never done before. And with this around his eyes, he couldn't see, so he could just jump around and, he can feel free. He can feel free. And as with everything was playing, that just really started to hit me. At that moment, at this altar, with that book, with that song, God just began to shape his life and shape his heart. What? Mom, no, what? No, I just came from this retreat. Yeah, we were at Crazy Love, and it was just awesome. No, you said what? No, why don't you want me to be a Christian? I just want to do my own thing. I want to follow God. I want to seek after him. No, it's not a lie. It's not a lie. What you're believing is a lie. Yeah, I just want to go to youth group. I want to do this. This is something I believe in. All right, just get out of my room. Just get out. Hello? Hey, what's up, Richard, man? What's going on? Oh, you got to argue with your mom too? Dude, it's just crazy, man. I just can't believe it. It's just depressing. I just wanted to believe so much, like I can't believe it. And it's just hard. Yeah, but I'm going to just spend some time with God and just read the Bible and just press in. I'll speak to you later. I love you too, bro. All right.
At this point in Braylon's life, it was once again just a moment, a precious moment that he had with God. He had just come from the retreat with Crazy Love, and God had just changed his life completely. This was a point in his life where he was no longer going to live for himself. This was the point where he decided in his heart that I'm going to completely be devoted over to God. I'm not going to live half-heartedly. I'm not going to just sometimes do what I need to do for God and sometimes do what I want for me. This was the point in his life where he decided, I'm living full force for you, God. Everything that you want me to do, I'm going to live for you to do that. And at this moment that he portrayed it, he had come back from the retreat and he got in this big argument with his mom. And he was fighting about his faith. He stood firm in his belief and his love for Christ that he had experienced in a powerful way at this Crazy Love retreat. He stood firm in that with his mom, and time again, I can tell you, not only just in that moment, but multiple times was he confronted by his mom, by his brothers, about his faith in God, where they were coming against that. And as he portrayed in the moment, that very night that he had this fight with his mom, it was real. And that same night, I had also gotten in a fight with my mom. And I called him, and we talked on the phone, and just like he said, we told each other, you just got in a fight with us, and we were astonished, that we both got in this coincidental argument with our parents about our faith. And as we were talking on the phone, we told each other, press into God, this is the time where we got faced with adversity, faced with trials, and bringing them down for his faith in God, telling them that he was living a lie. But just in this moment, just like I said, this was a point where he was able to allow himself to live for God. This was a point where he became fully devoted for God. Lord, it's just crazy how far that you just brought me so far, in my life so far. You know, I've been on these retreats and I've just seen how real your love is. I've seen how real you are, God. It's astonishing to me that people just walk around in their daily lives, that I walked around in my daily life at one point and thought that you weren't real. You know, as I've come into this youth group and as I've lived out my life and tried to live it for you, God, it's been astonishing how you just changed me and shaped me. That just as I read in the Bible, you know, and as I see in other people's lives who have lived this life and their Christian walk longer than me, Lord, I just see you shaping me and changing me, God. And Lord, I just thank you for that. But God, I thank you for the calling that you placed on my life. Lord, as I sit in worship services and as I pray for people and as you direct me to do that, Lord, as my heart longs to help people in their walk with God, I thank you for this calling that you've given me. This calling to be a leader. Lord, this calling to be someone who ministers to people. I thank you as I sit in those services and I pray for people and as I just seek you, God, that I have that joy in seeing others just completely surrendered over you. That it makes my heart break when I see people turn from you, God. Lord, or not even that, but when I'm seeking you, this desire to reach others, this desire to show the victory that we have in you. I thank you, God, that you've given me that. But not only that, Lord, but that my one desire, something that you've laid on my heart so heavy, is to see people come out of a life that's broken as mine was, Lord. That's been hurt, that they've experienced traumatizing things as I have, God. But to see them come to know you. Lord, above all else, I thank you that you've given me that heart. The heart to reach out to others and to show them the victory in living for you and giving their lives over to you, Lord.
At this moment in Richard's life, this was maybe 4 or so years ago. You know, this is when he felt that God has called him to become a pastor. This is when he felt that he had a strong burden on his heart for the lost. You know, he went through trials, he went through tribulations, he went through awesome worship services, he went through reading the Bible, you know. He went from arguments with his family to this, you know, to praying for you guys, to worshiping with you guys, to speaking the word of God to you guys. And so at this moment, his life was changed. He no longer wanted any other career, but he wanted to be a leader in a church. He wanted to be a pastor. He wanted to commit his whole life to just following God and just helping out you guys. God, just no more. No more. I do not want to be conformed to this world. God, I just want to be made whole. God, I thank you for this change of heart, the change of my mindset. I want to help bring my family to you. I want to help bring few youth here to you. I want to help bring my neighbors to you. God, I just want to be set apart. I want to be set apart and live a holy life, God, completely devoted to you. I want to continue to help these kids. God, I know I've only been saved for a couple of years, God, but at this moment, I feel that there's a strong call on me. A strong call to just do something great in my life. And so, God, I just lift you up, and I just thank you. I just thank you for this calling, because I don't want any other career, Father. I don't want nothing else. I just want to please you, and I want to be a leader in your church.
At this point in Braylon's life, this was like the final straw for him in his life living for himself. At this point, he came to this conclusion, he came to this realization of a calling that God had placed on his heart. A calling to lead, to follow the passions that God had placed in him, to see lives changed, to see people shaped and changed for God, to see them touched for Christ. At this point in his life, he just decided to give it all. This was a precious moment for him, because as he accepted that call that God had placed on him, his life was never going to be the same. It's not even never will be the same. It's never going to be the same. He's living for the calling of God. He's living to be someone who leads the church, who leads students, who leads people in a congregation, or maybe he's out on the missions field, or wherever he's at. He's stepping up to a calling that God has placed on his heart. And as we know in the Bible, it talks about how God judges those who lead, who are in a pastoral position or in a leadership position for his church, like double the amount that he judges others. He holds them that much higher in judgment because they're leading his people. They're supposed to bring truth to his body, to his loved ones. And so as we've gone through just a very few of the moments that we've had, the precious moments, from the very start, we both kind of gave an example of how we both came into the church. We sat in the same red seats that you guys are sitting in right now. And we had our doubts, we had our questions. None of this stuff that we talked about tonight was exaggerated in any way. When I came into this church, I was thinking exactly what I said in the very beginning. That the Bible was wrong, it was corrupted, there's no way it could be truth. All those same things. It was so old and written by multiple people, just like it didn't seem to add up. But it got, as you guys see now, something started working on it. Something started working on my heart. And it was that Bible. As I came to services, despite my doubts and everything, even in my head, I would just contradict constantly what the sermon was saying. I go, oh, that's wrong, no, there's no way that's real. But that Bible started working on my heart. And in the same way, Braylon came, and he had doubts about who God was, his character, who he, claimed to be through the sermons as they were being preached. He doubted this God as a father, as someone that provided for him. And he continued on, and we see the work in his life, and in my life, as we came to this retreat. And we just pressed into God and gave God this weekend. And as I read this, or as I went on this retreat, I wrote something on this, and it says, God will always love you no matter who is looking. Amen. It was about living for God no matter who was around. And it wasn't just me, that was the idea of the whole retreat. And just like Braylon's example, his skit showed, he was going to do that no matter what. When his parents came against him, when his mom and his brothers, they brought him down. He told him he was done for living a life that he was giving up, just like stuff like drinking and things like that. He was done for changing his life. But he knew God loved him no matter who was looking. He knew that he needed to live up to what that book talked about, what the Bible told him, and all the sermons that he was at. And it continued to work on him until it came to those final precious moments that me and him showed. And in those moments, that was a prayer to God. That was a prayer, that was a talk that we had with God about the calling that he had on our lives and the heart that we had behind it. For him, he was done with living for himself. He was excited. He was ready to step up to that call, to be someone who lived for him, to speak to others about who God was. But you know, tonight, we just decided to show you these moments, because these are moments that we've had in this building. These are moments that we've had at this very altar, these very altar things, and as on this carpet. These are moments that we had, and I know every single one of you sitting in here, maybe you've been here your whole life, at first or most of your life, maybe you've been in youth since you were able to, or maybe you've even been here just a few weeks or a few days. You still had a moment, whether it's in service and games, where you can just see the love of God poured out. You can see the reality of who he is. And so tonight, as we play just one more song, and it's going to be an old one, and I know most of you guys will recognize it, but I want you guys to just think back to those moments. Even as Raylan told you, throughout our skits, to think about that moment that you had, those moments you had. We're just going to press into worship, and I want you guys to think about those moments, but allow them to push you and to drive you to press into him more and more. Although our time here in Roll Out is coming into an end, it doesn't matter. It's not going to stop the moments that God has in us. But these are things that we can look back on, just like Jacob would, just like Israel would when his name was changed. He could look back on that moment and know that he was touched, he was changed. And he can use that moment, he can always remember that time that he had, that precious moment, to push him to go deeper and deeper for God. So you guys can just find a place in the room and just press into God. Don't let yourself become distracted. Don't let yourself become held back.